Are you starting your morning with what you believe is a healthy breakfast, yet by 10 a.m. you're already tired, hungry, and craving sugar again? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Millions of people begin their day with foods marketed as healthy: cereal, flavored yogurt, fruit smoothies, granola bowls, and yet their metabolism slowly drifts toward weight gain, insulin resistance, fatigue, and inflammation. Here's what's really going on inside your body. The first meal you eat in the morning doesn't just give you energy, it actually programs your metabolism for the entire day. It sets the tone for your blood sugar stability, your hunger hormones, your cortisol rhythm, and even how your liver processes fat. Think of breakfast like the first domino in a chain reaction. If the first domino falls in the wrong direction, meaning your breakfast causes a rapid spike in glucose, the rest of the metabolic dominoes follow. Insulin surges, blood sugar crashes, hunger hormones rise, and fat burning shuts down. And what most people don't realize is that many common breakfast foods are engineered to trigger exactly that metabolic roller coaster. What the research shows is that breakfasts high in rapidly digestible carbohydrates, things like refined grains and added sugars, create large spikes in blood glucose and insulin. Over time, this pattern is linked with increased risk of metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes. And here's the deeper metabolic issue. When insulin spikes early in the morning, your body switches into energy storage mode, not fat burning mode. Instead of using stored fat for fuel, your body starts storing incoming calories. That's why someone can eat a low-calorie breakfast, yet still struggle with stubborn weight gain. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your metabolism is a hybrid car. When insulin is low, the car runs on stored fat, like electric mode. But when insulin spikes, the car switches to gasoline mode, burning incoming sugar and locking away stored fat in the tank. Now here's the surprising part. Some of the most popular breakfast foods in the world are the biggest triggers of this metabolic switch. In today's video, we're going to break this down clearly and scientifically. You'll learn which common breakfast foods quietly spike insulin, why certain healthy breakfasts are actually metabolic traps, what happens inside your liver and hormones after a high-sugar morning meal, and most importantly, what to eat instead to stabilize energy, burn fat, and support long-term metabolic health. Because the goal isn't just avoiding bad foods, the goal is to design a breakfast that works with your biology, not against it. And once you understand this, your mornings and your metabolism can change dramatically. If this kind of science-based explanation is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I share videos like this regularly to help you optimize metabolism, energy, and long-term health naturally. Now, before we dive into the specific foods you should stop eating, let's start with one of the most common breakfast mistakes: refined carbs and sugary cereals. Most people think cereal is a quick, convenient, even healthy start to the day. But here's what's really going on inside your body when you pour a bowl of cornflakes, frosted flakes, or even whole grain cereals. These foods are made of highly processed grains that your body digests almost instantly. Within minutes, glucose floods into your bloodstream. Your pancreas responds by releasing insulin, the hormone that tells your cells to absorb sugar and store excess energy as fat. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your bloodstream as a river and insulin as a dam. Normally, this dam rises and falls gradually, but sugary cereals are like dumping a huge load of water all at once. The dam spikes, the river floods, and downstream, your energy tanks crash. Within an hour or two, you're hungry again, often craving more sugar, and your fat-burning systems are turned off. What the research shows is that repeated morning spikes in glucose and insulin are linked to insulin resistance, chronic inflammation, and weight gain over time. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that high glycemic breakfasts increased appetite and calorie intake later in the day compared to low glycemic options. AJCN 2015. Now, what can you do instead? The solution is simple but requires a shift in mindset. You want a breakfast that releases energy slowly, stabilizes blood sugar, and keeps insulin in check. Here's a practical protocol. Focus on protein and healthy fats first. Eggs, Greek yogurt, unsweetened, Nuts or seeds are excellent options. Protein slows digestion and provides amino acids to repair your muscles and support neurotransmitters for focus. Add low glycemic, fiber rich foods. Vegetables, chia seeds, flax, or berries in moderation help slow glucose absorption. Avoid processed grains in the morning. If you want oats, choose steel-cut oats cooked with protein or fat, not instant flavored packs. Visualize your meal as fuel for stability, not just calories. Your breakfast should power your metabolism for hours, not spike it into chaos. Here's a whiteboard-style visual you can imagine. Draw a graph with blood sugar on the y-axis and time on the x-axis. Sugary cereal creates a steep spike and sharp drop. Protein plus healthy fat plus fiber creates a gentle slope, steady energy, and sustained fullness. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post content like this every day to help you optimize metabolism naturally without relying on quick fixes or gimmicks. Finally, remember, skipping this step or underestimating it has real consequences. Repeated insulin spikes in the morning can make it harder to burn fat all day, keep energy stable, and maintain healthy aging. By replacing refined cereals with a balanced protein and fat-based breakfast, you're not just cutting sugar, you're teaching your body to burn fuel efficiently, reduce cravings, and support long-term metabolic health. Now let's talk about another breakfast option that is widely perceived as healthy: flavored yogurts and fruit smoothies. At first glance, these seem like smart choices. Yogurt contains protein and probiotics. Smoothies contain fruit, vitamins, and antioxidants. Many people believe they are starting their morning with something clean, light, and nourishing. But here's what's really going on inside your body. Most flavored yogurts and commercial smoothies contain large amounts of added sugar. In many cases, a single cup of flavored yogurt can contain 15 to 25 grams of sugar, sometimes even more. That's roughly equivalent to eating several teaspoons of sugar before your day has even started. Now combine that with fruit puree, syrups, or fruit juice concentrates often found in smoothies, and your liver suddenly receives a very large load of rapidly absorbable sugars. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your liver as a metabolic processing plant. Its job is to manage incoming nutrients, storing some, burning some, and converting others into usable energy. But when a large amount of sugar hits the liver all at once, it has limited options. Some of that sugar is stored as glycogen, your short-term energy reserve. But once glycogen storage is full, the excess sugar is converted into fat through a process called de novo lipogenesis. In simple terms, your body literally turns excess sugar into fat. This is especially true with fructose, the type of sugar found in fruit juice, concentrates, sweetened yogurts, and many smoothie blends. Unlike glucose, fructose is processed almost entirely in the liver, which means a large fructose load can quickly overwhelm your metabolic pathways. What the research shows is that frequent high fructose intake is associated with increased risk of fatty liver, insulin resistance, and metabolic dysfunction over time. And there's another problem. Many smoothies remove one of the most important parts of whole fruit, fiber structure. When fruit is blended into liquid form, especially when combined with juices, the natural fiber matrix that slows sugar absorption is partially broken down. This means your body absorbs the sugar much faster than it would if you ate the fruit whole. So instead of steady energy, you get the familiar pattern: sugar spike, insulin surge, energy crash. And that crash often leads to mid-morning hunger, cravings for carbohydrates, and another cycle of blood sugar instability. So what's the smarter approach? The key is not eliminating yogurt or fruit entirely. It's changing the metabolic context in which you eat them. Here's a practical strategy. First, choose plain, unsweetened yogurt instead of flavored varieties. This dramatically reduces added sugar while still providing protein and beneficial bacteria that support gut health. Second, if you enjoy smoothies, build them differently. Think of a smoothie as a balanced metabolic meal, not a fruit dessert. Start with a protein base such as unsweetened Greek yogurt or a clean protein powder. Add healthy fats like chia seeds, flax seeds, or a small portion of nuts. Then include a modest amount of low glycemic fruit like berries. This combination changes how your body processes the meal. Protein slows digestion, Fat stabilizes blood sugar, fiber slows glucose absorption. Instead of flooding your bloodstream with sugar, the nutrients are released gradually, giving your brain and muscles steady fuel. And this is the pattern we want to create in the morning: stable energy, controlled insulin, and efficient metabolism. Because breakfast should not trigger a metabolic roller coaster. It should create a steady foundation for the rest of your day. And once you understand how to build meals that support your metabolism instead of stressing it, your energy, focus, and hunger signals start working the way they were designed to. Now let's examine another breakfast category that quietly disrupts metabolism: pastries, muffins, white toast, and other refined flour products. These foods are everywhere in the modern breakfast culture. Croissants, bagels, muffins, pancakes, waffles, they're convenient, comforting, and heavily marketed as a normal way to start the day. But metabolically speaking, many of these foods behave almost the same way as dessert. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Refined flour is essentially grain that has been stripped of its natural fiber, minerals, and structure. What remains is a rapidly digestible starch that your digestive system quickly breaks down into glucose. In fact, white bread can raise blood sugar almost as quickly as pure sugar. So when you eat a muffin or a bagel in the morning, the process looks like this. First, glucose floods the bloodstream. Next, insulin surges to manage the spike. Then blood sugar drops rapidly. This pattern creates what many people describe as the mid-morning crash. You feel tired, your brain feels foggy, and suddenly you're hungry again, even though you just ate. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your metabolism as a campfire. Protein, fat, and fiber act like large logs. They burn slowly and provide steady heat. But refined flour foods act like dry paper. They ignite quickly, burn intensely for a short period, and then disappear just as fast. That's exactly what happens metabolically: a quick burst of energy, followed by a crash. And when that crash happens, the body sends strong hunger signals, especially for carbohydrates, because it's trying to restore blood sugar stability. Now here's the deeper issue. When this pattern repeats daily, insulin levels remain elevated more often. Over time, cells become less responsive to insulin, a process known as insulin resistance. This makes it harder for your body to move glucose into cells and easier for your body to store fat, particularly around the liver and abdomen. Research consistently shows that diets high in refined grains are associated with increased risk of type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, and cardiovascular disease. But the problem isn't just the flour itself. Many breakfast pastries also contain industrial seed oils, added sugars, and processed fats, which can further promote inflammation and oxidative stress in the body. So what can you do instead? The solution again comes down to building a metabolically balanced breakfast. Start by shifting your mindset away from grain-based breakfasts entirely. Instead of thinking, "What bread should I eat?" ask yourself, where is the protein and metabolic stability in this meal? A simple strategy is the protein-first breakfast approach. Aim for 20-30 grams of protein in your first meal. This could come from eggs, cottage cheese, unsweetened Greek yogurt, or a high-quality protein source paired with healthy fats. Then add fiber-rich foods like vegetables, avocado, or seeds. These slow digestion and stabilize blood sugar. If you still enjoy bread occasionally, choose options with minimal processing and higher fiber, and pair them with protein and fat rather than eating them alone. For example, instead of a bagel with jam, try eggs with avocado and a small slice of whole grain bread. Instead of a muffin, try Greek yogurt with nuts and berries. These combinations dramatically change how your body processes the meal. Blood sugar rises slowly, insulin stays controlled, energy remains steady for hours. If this breakdown is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I share practical, science-based strategies like this to help you rebuild your metabolism naturally and sustainably. Because once you stop triggering these rapid glucose spikes in the morning, something remarkable happens. Your hunger stabilizes, your energy improves, and your body becomes far more efficient at burning stored fat. Now let's talk about a breakfast habit that surprises many people because it's often considered one of the healthiest choices possible: a fruit-heavy breakfast. You've probably seen this recommendation everywhere: fruit bowls, fruit salads, fruit smoothies, or simply starting the day with bananas, oranges, or mangoes. After all, Fruit contains vitamins, antioxidants, and natural sugars, so it must be good for you, right? Well, the answer is yes, but only when fruit is eaten in the right metabolic context. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Fruit contains two primary sugars, glucose and fructose. Glucose raises blood sugar directly, while fructose is processed almost entirely in the liver. When fruit is eaten with protein, fiber, or fat, your body absorbs these sugars gradually. The liver processes them efficiently, and blood sugar remains relatively stable. But when fruit is eaten alone, especially in large quantities in the morning, the metabolic response can be very different. Think about what many people eat for breakfast. 2 bananas, a large smoothie, orange juice, maybe a fruit bowl on top of that. That combination can easily deliver 40 to 60 grams of sugar within minutes. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your liver as a warehouse that stores energy. It has limited shelf space for glycogen, your body's stored glucose. When you eat moderate amounts of sugar, the warehouse stores it efficiently. But when large amounts of sugar arrive all at once, the warehouse becomes overloaded. The extra energy has to go somewhere. And one of the main ways the body deals with that excess is by converting it into fat. This is particularly relevant with fructose, because fructose is processed primarily in the liver. High intake, especially from fruit juices or large fruit meals, can contribute to increased fat production in the liver over time. Now, this doesn't mean fruit is unhealthy. In fact, whole fruit is still one of the best sources of antioxidants, vitamins, hydration, and fiber. The real issue is how fruit is combined with other foods. A fruit-only breakfast lacks two critical elements that stabilize metabolism: protein and fat. Without these nutrients, digestion happens very quickly. Sugar enters the bloodstream rapidly, insulin rises, and the familiar pattern appears again, a spike followed by an energy dip. That dip is why many people feel hungry again just an hour or two after eating fruit in the morning. So what's the smarter way to approach fruit? The key is pairing fruit strategically. Instead of eating fruit by itself, combine it with protein and healthy fats. This dramatically changes how your body processes the sugars. For example, add berries to Greek yogurt with chia seeds. Pair apple slices with almonds or walnuts. Add a small portion of berries to eggs and avocado. These combinations slow sugar absorption, reduce insulin spikes, and provide steady energy. Another important strategy is choosing lower glycemic fruits in the morning. Berries, kiwi, and apples tend to produce smaller glucose spikes compared to fruits like bananas, pineapple, or mango when eaten in large amounts. And portion size matters as well. Fruit should be viewed as a nutrient-dense addition to a meal, not the entire meal itself. Because when you structure your breakfast around protein, fiber, and healthy fats, with fruit playing a supporting role, your metabolism stays balanced. Energy remains steady. Hunger signals calm down. And your body can continue burning fat efficiently throughout the day. If this explanation is helping you rethink breakfast, consider subscribing. I share simple, science-based strategies like this every day to help you improve energy, metabolism, and long-term health naturally. Now let's examine the final breakfast mistake that quietly sabotages metabolic health: relying on low-fat or diet breakfast foods. For decades, we were told that fat was the enemy. Supermarkets filled with low-fat yogurts, fat-free cereals, diet granola bars, and reduced-fat breakfast products. These foods were marketed as the smarter, healthier option. But here's what's really going on inside your body. When manufacturers remove fat from food, they almost always replace it with sugar, refined starches, or artificial additives to maintain taste and texture. In other words, the product may say low fat, but metabolically, it often becomes high sugar. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of fat in food like the brakes on a car. Fat slows digestion. It regulates how quickly nutrients enter your bloodstream. It stabilizes blood sugar and helps you feel full. When fat is removed from a meal, it's like removing the brakes. Nutrients, especially sugars and refined carbohydrates, rush into the bloodstream much faster. The result is the same metabolic roller coaster we've been discussing throughout this video: rapid glucose spike, large insulin response, energy crash, and hunger. But there's another important hormonal effect that many people overlook: Fat plays a critical role in satiety hormones, particularly hormones like leptin and peptide YY that signal fullness to your brain. When you eat a meal containing healthy fats, your brain receives the message, energy has arrived, you're satisfied. Low-fat foods weaken that signal. This is why someone can eat a low-fat breakfast and still feel hungry again shortly afterward. Now here's where the science becomes even more interesting. Research in nutritional physiology consistently shows that balanced meals containing healthy fats, protein, and fiber improve blood sugar control and reduce hunger compared with low-fat, high-carbohydrate meals. Healthy fats slow gastric emptying, meaning food leaves the stomach more gradually. This creates a steady release of energy instead of rapid spikes. So what should you do instead? The goal is not to eat unlimited fat. The goal is to include the right types of fat in the right metabolic context. Here are some practical breakfast options that support metabolic stability. Eggs cooked with olive oil or avocado. Greek yogurt with nuts, seeds, and berries. An omelet with vegetables and avocado. Cottage cheese with walnuts and chia seeds. These meals provide 3 critical components your metabolism needs in the morning: protein for muscle repair and neurotransmitter production, healthy fats for hormone signaling and satiety, fiber for stable glucose absorption. When these 3 elements work together, something remarkable happens. Your blood sugar stays stable for hours. Cravings dramatically decrease. Energy becomes consistent instead of fluctuating, and your body remains in a more efficient fat-burning state throughout the day. If this content is helping you rethink how breakfast affects your metabolism, consider subscribing. I share science-based strategies like this regularly to help you improve energy, weight balance, and long-term health naturally. Because the real goal of breakfast isn't just to fill your stomach. The goal is to program your metabolism for stability, energy, and longevity. And once you stop relying on sugar-heavy, low-fat breakfast foods and start building meals that support your biology, your mornings, and your metabolic health can change dramatically. So let's bring everything together. What you eat for breakfast is not just about calories, convenience, or even taste. Your first meal of the day is a metabolic signal. It tells your body whether to store energy, burn energy, or trigger cravings and instability for the rest of the day. And throughout this video, we've uncovered some surprising truths. Many of the foods commonly eaten at breakfast, sugary cereals, flavored yogurts, smoothies overloaded with fruit, pastries made with refined flour, and low-fat diet products can quietly disrupt your metabolism. They trigger rapid spikes in blood sugar. They force insulin to surge, and they create the familiar pattern of energy crashes, hunger, and fat storage. Here's what's really happening physiologically. When glucose spikes early in the morning, insulin rises sharply to control it. High insulin tells your body to store energy instead of burning fat. Over time, repeated spikes can contribute to insulin resistance, increased belly fat, and metabolic dysfunction. This is why someone can eat what appears to be a small or healthy breakfast, but still struggle with fatigue, cravings, or stubborn weight gain. But the encouraging news is this: small changes at breakfast can have powerful metabolic effects. Instead of starting your day with rapidly digestible carbohydrates, focus on meals that stabilize your physiology. Think of a metabolically supportive breakfast as having 3 essential pillars. First, protein. Aim for roughly 20 to 30 grams in your first meal. Protein stabilizes blood sugar, supports muscle maintenance, and helps regulate appetite hormones. Second, healthy fats. Foods like eggs, avocado, nuts, seeds, and olive oil slow digestion and create longer-lasting satiety. Third, fiber-rich foods. Vegetables, berries, chia seeds, and flax seeds slow glucose absorption and support gut health. When these elements work together, the body responds very differently. Blood sugar rises slowly, insulin remains controlled, energy stays stable for hours. Instead of a metabolic roller coaster, you create a steady metabolic foundation for the day. And this matters not just for weight management, but also for long-term health. Stable glucose and insulin levels are strongly associated with improved metabolic health, better cognitive function, and healthier aging. So here's a simple challenge for you. Tomorrow morning, change just one thing about your breakfast. Replace a sugary cereal with eggs and avocado. Swap flavored yogurt for plain Greek yogurt with berries and nuts. Or add protein and healthy fats to the meal you already eat. Then pay attention to how your body responds. Notice your energy levels. Notice your hunger patterns. Notice how your focus feels later in the morning. Your body will give you feedback very quickly because once you start aligning your meals with your biology, your metabolism begins to work with you instead of against you. If this video added value to you, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. We're building a community here focused on understanding the science of nutrition and optimizing health naturally. And remember, sometimes the most powerful health improvements start with the simplest daily habits, like what you choose to eat for breakfast.